Yeah, right.
Okay, we're on record in State versus Davis, C-337-407. We've gotten through some of our technical issues. Anything else we need to address before bringing in the jury? Okay, let's bring them in.
Stand for jury.
Thanks, guys. Do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
We do.
Okay, you may all be seated. At this time, the state may call their next witness. All right, Mr. Becker, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to have my clerk swear you. Please raise your right
Yes,
hand.
ma'am.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Brent Becker, B-R-E-N-T-B-E-C-K-E-R.
Thank you.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, you're retired these days. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what'd you do for a living before you retired?
I was a police officer for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
And what years were you with Metro?
I was there from 1984 to 2011.
And in September of 1996, what was your assignment?
I was a detective with the homicide section.
Do you recall how long you'd been with homicide when you, in 1996?
I got into homicide, I think it was November of 1994.
Did you have a partner in 96?
Yes, it was Mike Franks.
And who was your sergeant?
Kevin Manning.
Sorry. Oh, he's gonna, hold on a second. All right, he's gonna work on the echo. Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On September 7th, or into, I guess, technically into September 8th of 1996, did you get called out for a shooting that happened, ultimately determined to be happened at Flamingo and Koval?
Yes, Sergeant Manning called me. It was about 12:30 in the morning, and I was asleep, so it would have been September 8th. And so it was around 12:30. So by the time I got up, got dressed, and got there, it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning on the 8th.
And when you say you got there, what scene did you go to?
Initially, from what I recall, I went to Harmon in the Boulevard because that's where general assignment and everybody was at to get debriefed on things and get some of the notes. And then from what I recall, I went over to Flamingo and Koval to kind of look at the scene, but they had some witnesses from the car that supposedly was directly behind Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur back at Harmon and the Boulevard that I needed to interview.
Can we talk a little bit, first of all, Tupac Shakur is still alive on September 8th of 1996, correct?
That's what I was told. He had already been transported. He was not at the scene when I got there.
Is it somewhat unusual for homicide to be involved in a situation where there isn't a deceased victim yet?
That was very unusual. And normally we don't get called out, at least at that time, we didn't get called out unless there was a deceased victim. So it was unusual. I think when we arrived at the scene, we were told that because of the nature of who the victim was, General Assignment wanted us to come out to it.
Let me ask you, we've heard from a first responder today. Back in those days, what was general assignment? What does that mean?
General Assignment was in essence, the night detectives. They worked swing shift and graveyard shift. So they were the night detectives that if something needed a detective to respond, they were the ones that got called out to the scene.
So they would have been at this scene before you, and then they made a determination along with, I assume, the command staff that homicide should be called out to this investigation.
Correct. Actually, uniformed officers would have been the first people called to the scene of anything. And General Assignment, I'm sure, was monitoring the traffic. So if they had heard the call, they may have been responding, but they would have gone out, assessed the scene, and eventually determined if someone, the type of scene it was and if someone needed to come out to it. And in this case, I guess someone must have called Sergeant Manning because he's the one that called us.
And your partner, Detective Franks, do you recall where he responded to?
I believe he got sent directly to University Medical Center, the hospital, which is where Shakur and I believe Suge Knight got sent to.
And your responsibility, was there also crime scene analysts that were called up to the scene?
Yeah, my initial response was to the scene to start handling things directly at the crime scene, yes.
And then does at some point crime scene analyst Dan Ford show up and document the scene while you're present?
Dan Ford was already there from what I recall. They were called CSAs back then, I believe. Dan Ford would have already been there. Usually CSAs, because CSAs were assigned to each shift. So I'm pretty sure he was that particular shift CSA. He would have already been out there doing whatever he did for the scene, marking it, taking photographs and such.
When you, at the end of sort of both the two scene investigations, so the Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard, as well as the Flamingo and Koval investigation, essentially, what was the facts you were dealing with?
Well, according to the witnesses that I had interviewed, Frank Alexander, Malcolm Greenidge, Katari Cox, and Yafu Fula, and I'm just doing what I remember the pronunciation was. They were in the car behind Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur, and what they described was that a white car, and from what I recall, they described a white Cadillac pulling up alongside Knight's car, and someone inside that white Cadillac opening fire or shooting into the car that Knight and Shakur were at. Their descriptions varied a little bit, but from what I recall, I believe they all said it was a white car and more or less agreed that it was a Cadillac. And there might have been a little bit of a variance between 2 and 4 occupants.
And what direction after the shooting does the vehicle head?
After the shooting, it would have turned south on Koval. That was at Flamingo and Koval, because the night group was heading eastbound on Flamingo, and the Cadillac would have originally been heading eastbound, but then it turned southbound on Cobalt.
And the nature of the bullet holes that are in the BMW that's located at Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard, all those bullets appear to be coming in from the passenger side of the BMW?
The impact strikes that I saw were all on the right rear passenger door, the right front door, or the right front passenger door. I believe there was some sort of a mark or impact on the windshield. Those were the strikes that you could see. It was you couldn't tell if anything had been a stray of any kind. So,
at your scene, you have bullets being shot from south to north into the passenger side of Shogun Tupac's car, but you have no idea how many actual bullets are fired because you can only see the strikes which are in the car.
Correct. All I can see is what the actual impacts are. That doesn't mean that's how many shots were fired. That's just how many struck the vehicle.
And I think we have another witness who's going to testify to this later, but there are a number of casings, or cartridge cases, expended cartridge cases, that ultimately get collected from the southbound lanes of Flamingo right before Koval. Is that correct?
Yes, without seeing the report, I know that there were fired cartridge cases recovered from the street. I do recall that the number of fired cartridge cases recovered from the street did not match the number of impact strikes on the vehicle, which wouldn't have been surprising considering what traffic probably was on Flamingo on a Saturday night and probably the delay of anybody arriving there, at least from law enforcement.
What happens when, in your experience as a detective, there's a bunch of cartridge cases laying in a busy street and cars driving through? What can happen to those cartridge cases?
Well, especially prior to the uniform officers getting there, cars are driving over them. They're either getting caught within the tread of the tires, or they're getting thrown down the street or thrown into a rain gutter, they could go a lot of different places. We've investigated numerous shootings within streets where you've had fired cartridge cases scattered all over the place. And you never know for sure if you've got all of them, because if something gets caught within a tread of a tire and it doesn't get ejected, unless someone tells you about it later or it gets ejected somewhere else, who knows where it ends up.
In addition to that, when you have your shooter inside a vehicle, are there times that you found casings have gone into the vehicle that the shooter's shooting from?
Yeah, that would depend on if the shots were fired with the handgun inside the window of the car, or if the handgun was outside of the window. Obviously, if the handgun is outside of the window, there's a higher probability. If it's a semi-automatic pistol, there's a higher probability that all those fired cartridge cases ended up outside. If the handgun is on the inside of the vehicle, you have a higher probability of some fired cartridge cases ended up staying inside the car. If it's a revolver, then everything is going to stay within the handgun.
Eventually, I'm kind of jumping forward here, do you have those casings forensically tested?
The firearms examiner ends up testing them. I believe they were able to determine that they thought a Glock, it was going to be a .40 caliber. They were able to determine the caliber. And I believe, because I guess I'm not the expert, the firearms people are, but that a Glock has a particular marking that shows up, and I believe they determined that they thought it was a Glock that fired the weapon, that fired the cartridge cases.
So now you're looking for a white Cadillac occupied somewhere between 2 and 4 times, heading south on Koval, and a Glock 40 caliber firearm.
That was the information we had eventually at the time, yes.
After speaking to the witnesses, did you have any suspect information?
The only thing we had was 2 to 4 people, probably already all black males. The shooter, all we had was a black arm. There was a question of whether it was out the driver's door window or out the back window. There was a lot of questions, and this was strictly coming from the 4 gentlemen, Alexander, Greenidge, Cox, and Fula, from the car that was behind them. You got to realize, as I learned later, there was an entire convoy or entourage, whatever you want to call it, that had been behind them. And none of those people were around. Everybody had skedaddled before we got there, or at least by the time I got there. And so the only information we had was what General Assignment had acquired from, I believe, a couple of witnesses that they had talked to, and some of the people at the scene. I think Detective Franks talked to some girls later on that had been at the scene.
Now, during the course of this, you've mentioned Frank Alexander. Do you know what Frank Alexander's responsibility was that night in the car behind Suge and Tupac?
Frank Alexander said he was Tupac Shakur's bodyguard.
And Fula? I'm not even going to say him right either.
Fula and Greenidge and Qatari Cox were supposed to be part of the Outlaws. I guess it's like the group, I don't know if you call them the band, but the part of the group that performed with Tupac Shakur.
And those are the only 4 that stuck around by the time you got there and you were able to take statements from.
I believe they were the only 4, plus I know there were a couple other guys that are mentioned in the report. I think Kevin Woods was one of them, and I think they must have got stopped by General Assignment or somebody when Suge Knight had made the U-turn to flee or drive away and ended up at Harmon and the Boulevard. Everybody else was gone.
I want to fast forward a little bit. Did you learn of an incident that occurred at the MGM Casino shortly after the Tyson-Seldon fight?
We eventually learned that. No one claimed that night, but yes, there was a videotape that came about and information about a fight that was caught on videotape where a person was kicked, beaten down by Suge Knight and a bunch of other people in that group. Tupac Shakur was in the group, and Frank Alexander was off in the side.
When you learned about that, did Metro initially know the identity of the victim of that beating?
The only thing we had, I believe, was the first name of Orlando. One of the officers that was at the fight that night, I think they were working off duty, because we also saw some video where they had talked to the person. He was wearing a football jersey, and I don't believe there was a written down ID where the ID was obtained, but the first name of Orlando was on there. That was all we had at that time.
Did you make efforts to talk to Suge Knight?
I know that night at the hospital, Detective Franks attempted to, he said. And then I know that for 2 to 3 days after that, we attempted to, and finally were able to get him in and conduct an interview with him.
How did that come about? How does Suge Knight wind up at Metro?
Well, the first couple of attempts weren't very successful. Put it this way: he didn't want to. He didn't come in. In fact, I think the one time he was supposed to come in, he didn't show up, and then the night he did, I think it was 3 nights after. It would be in the report. When he did arrive, he showed up with David Kenner, David Chesnoff, and George Kalisis, who were all 3 attorneys who were his representatives, which we thought was weird because Suge Knight was a victim. And I think Reggie Wright Jr. might have been out in the lobby waiting. And then that's when we were finally able to conduct a taped interview of Suge Knight with his 3 attorneys present.
And what were your impressions from that interview?
Suge Knight was not the Suge Knight I expected. Everything, we had done a lot of research in the short time we had been involved, and Suge Knight was not a very timid person in the previous interviews we had seen of him. He was a very boisterous, in charge kind of guy. He was very timid, and to us, his interview was very practiced, and he was very timid, and I thought he lied to us. He just didn't know anything.
Your impression was he was withholding information about what happened.
He just basically said he didn't know anything. Couldn't recognize anybody.
A few days, or maybe a week even, does there come a point in time when you get contacted by law enforcement in Los Angeles area, whether it be LAPD, LASO, or Compton PD, that assists you in your investigation?
Tupac Shakur passed away on September 13th. We attended the autopsy, and we were later contacted. Well, I think there was probably some contact with other people within the homicide section. You got to realize there are people higher up than us, but eventually Tim Brennan from Compton PD, I think a Mike Coet, and I don't, Fontenot, something like that from Los Angeles County Sheriffs came down to exchange information, and that's when we showed them the videotape from the MGM.
And once you showed them the videotape from the MGM, were they able to identify for you, first of all, who Orlando was?
They immediately recognized Orlando Anderson. They told us that's Orlando Anderson.
And do they also identify some of the people that are with Suge that you didn't know might have been with Suge?
They recognized Suge Knight. I think they did by monikers, if I remember right. There might have been names. I think Buntry was in the picture, a guy named Buntry. There may have been some others that would have, again, it would be on the report because we did document all this.
Does Trayvon Lane sound familiar to you?
Yes, Trayvon Lane does sound familiar.
What about Neckbone?
They ended up identifying a bunch of people because we ended up getting a substantial amount of information from them.
Does there come a point in time when they let you know that basically there's something happening in Compton that might be really indicative of who may have killed Tupac?
Well, we learned that they had had a series of shootings occurring in Compton, and we're getting a lot of information from informants that was interesting to us. The problem was it was all from informants. We didn't have any actual people that would come forward and testify. So it was information we could use, but we didn't have any witnesses that would be willing to talk to us. It was all hearsay for us.
And before I get too far into the time you go to Compton the first time, were you able to identify that Suge Knight, Tupac Shakur, and their entourage was staying at the Luxor?
Well, yeah, we knew that after the beatdown at the MGM, they had all gone because the MGM security had videotaped or filmed the group going through the casino and exiting, and we got information that they went over to the Luxor where they had rooms because we observed or saw some videotape down in the valet area after they had changed clothes and were meeting down there for some vehicles where they had left to go to Suge Knight's house there in Las Vegas.
Judge, I have in my hand a certified record from Luxor of the reservations as 124. I'd offer it.
No objection, Your Honor.
So admitted.
So you mentioned something that I guess I should get to. Suge and Tupac's group leave the MGM, go to the Luxor, and then did you have law enforcement outside, not for this purpose, but did you have law enforcement working security near Suge Knight's house here in Las Vegas?
We did not. Homicide did not. Apparently, there was an off-duty assignment at Suge Knight's community. I guess it's a gated community is where his house was at. And they were working off-duty because of whatever the event was.
And so did you learn that after the Luxor they went over to Suge's house?
Yes, we learned that they went over there. There was, I think, a gate log or something, and we learned that several people had gone over there, gone inside, and we eventually acquired that gate log. And then sometime after they had arrived at the house there, they departed, and
That's when the incident occurs.
that's not long after that is when the incident occurred.
All right, let me get back to Compton. At some point, do you get told that the Compton Police Department is going to execute search warrants on all of the Mob Piru and Southside Crip residences that they could identify as part of their investigation into the ongoing war now that's happening between Mob Piru and the Southside Crips?
It was kind of twofold. We were told that they were serving search warrants on all these locations for these different groups or gangs, but that there was also at least one murder warrant for Orlando Anderson that they had there in Compton. So it was our understanding that they were going to be arresting him on an outstanding murder warrant there in Compton.
Were you present in Compton when those warrants were executed?
Mike Franks and I did travel down and were present to witness the search warrants being served by Compton, and I believe I don't know if the Los Angeles County Sheriffs participated, the actual deputies. I know that their jail facility people were there.
And you talked about this before. That warrant, had you seen a copy of the affidavit for that warrant?
Yeah, I saw one way back in '96, and I think I've seen one here recently that you showed me that kind of refreshed my memory.
And within that, all of the witnesses are identified as CRIs. Do you know what they were calling CRIs?
What I was told is that it was called a confidential, reliable informant. I don't recall any person being named as a testifying witness to anything. It was all based on confidential, reliable informants that the search warrant was being based on, which I guess in some cases that's not unusual. I know narcotics cases do that quite often, but eventually if you're going to successfully prosecute a case, you need to have somebody willing to testify.
So on October 2nd of 1996, were you present on Burris Ave when Orlando Anderson's residence was, when the police hit it and searched that residence?
I can't tell you if it was Burris Avenue. I remember being somewhere where Orlando Anderson was arrested, yes.
And during that, did you find out information as to where Orlando Anderson was staying when he was in Las Vegas?
Well, yeah, we kind of had an idea before that, but then when he was arrested, we kind of confirmed it that he had been staying at the Excalibur Hotel. We knew he'd been in Vegas because we had him on videotape, but yes.
Judge, I have in my hand state's proposed exhibit number 125, which is a certified copy of, or it's a certified record of the Excalibur. I offer it at this time.
You want to make your approach?
Yes. That will be admitted.
Okay, now I'm going to try my best here to share my screen with you and see if we can. I want to show you just one little portion of this particular record. Oh. All right, share screen. I guess I should have it up. All right. Are you seeing my screen at all?
I see you. I don't see the document. Oh, wait a minute. It just flipped.
You see that document now?
Okay, yeah, I do see a document. It's a affidavit of custodian of records.
Okay. I'm going to roll down here to page 2.
Okay, it's a receipt from Excalibur.
And then I'm going to zoom in here, maybe. Oh, that's the search button. Is this going to let me zoom in here? There we go.
I see some writing down there. Yeah.
That's
Okay,
right.
it zoomed.
Yeah, I'm just going to get to that writing now that I've zoomed in.
Okay.
So on page
All right.
2 here, there's
I
some
see.
handwriting on there.
That's the Stardust and Monte Carlo.
You recognize that handwriting?
That's my handwriting.
So how does that handwriting wind up?
else did, but we didn't have a name that would step forward to say anything. And I believe the CRIs were even throwing out Darnell Brim and other people.
I'm gonna kind of go through each one of these, but there's one I want to show you, and you've looked at these 10 photo lineups recently, right?
Correct.
And then there's another 6 photo lineups that you have where there's just a handwritten log that goes with them, right?
Yeah, and after looking at those, I'm wondering if those are photo lineups that I did later, because the 4 girls that I think Mike interviewed that night at the shooting scene, I had attempted to get in touch with them, and I think I talked to a couple of them, and 1 or 2 of them lived in the LA area. And either, I think it was LAPD, we had sent some lineups to them to look at. Those might have been the lineups we sent to them, actually, because it was, 97 or 98? And I think technology might have got a little better by then.
So let me click out here. Judge, I have in my hand the log of 86, and then State Proposed Exhibits 87 through 91, which are the other 6 lineups. 5 lineups, excuse me.
No objection. I'm sorry, no objection.
They'll be there.
Thank you. So let me start with the log for you, and then we're going to go back to the other ones for just a minute, but let me pull up the log first. Oops. I'm sure there's more technologically advanced if you were younger. If I were younger, we could figure out how to do this easier, but
You're doing better than me, so.
these are the logs. This is the logs you wrote for each one of those lineups, right? So you had Orlando Anderson in one, Darnell Brim in another, Roger.
Sure, these are probably notes that I wrote down because we were just trying to put something together to send off. Because I'm seeing, well, Roger Williams would have been, wasn't a Southside Crip, from what I remember. He was a mob guy or something. He was the opposite of everybody else.
Roger Williams, do you recall his nickname being Neckbone?
Yes, because I think we got to talk to him briefly down in Compton.
The name Jerry Bonds was the name that was coming up?
Jerry Bonds was a name that came up very, very early on, and I think Compton had it, and as time went on, Jerry Bonds' name kind of was fading out. I think he's a South Side Compton Crip, but as things went on, his name just started disappearing, even from the informants.
And then the last one on there is Big Dre or DeAndre Smith.
DeAndre Smith, who is the guy that we think was in the back seat with Orlando Anderson.
Now I'm going to go to the DeAndre Smith photo lineup, and that's 91. And he'd be in position number 3, correct? Oh wait, you
guess
can't
so.
see it. I didn't share it with you yet.
Nothing's popped up yet, so.
Let me share it with you. But if your log has him in position number 3, that'd be him in number 3, correct?
Looking at it, yeah, that face kind of looks familiar. And that number 15 would be my writing. So this is one of the later photos. Yes. And this is definitely one of the later photos. This is one we had early on.
So now I want to go to photo lineup that you wrote as number 1, which is State's Exhibit number 76. Can't believe I have to stop the share every time, but. I'm going to zoom in here on number 2 and then share it with you here. Maybe. The person there in number 2, that appears to be DeAndre Smith, correct?
Yes. That's probably an early photo because what I'm looking at, I think, is probably, I don't know if those were California DMV photos or what, because from what I recall, we had to cut the pictures out because the backgrounds were all different colors, and we were trying not to make different colors on the photo lineup so we didn't come into conflict down the road with anybody. I think Mr. Sanford would agree. If you have a yellow, red, blue, that causes issues. So that's why we did this. And this is all we had that was available at the time.
So I want to roll down here. The weird thing about this record is
Number 6 didn't have a name.
number 6 didn't have a name, but also number 2, even though it's a picture of DeAndre Smith, the record you have written is Andre Norton. Is that possibly an AKA for Mr. Smith?
Probably. We're talking what, 97? Yeah. Andre Norton. I'd have to look at his rap sheet. I don't know. But because there's no ID number over there, that's probably what it is. Because usually if there's an ID number, that's a Metro thing. And DeAndre Smith, whatever, wouldn't have had anything, because I don't think he had a history with Las Vegas.
Now, as I go through each of these photo lineups that you have, let's go to number 2, which is State's Exhibit number 77. And we roll down here. Well, I guess I should share it for you so you know what I'm talking about. We roll down here, and position number 3 is Orlando Anderson. Is that right?
Okay, you're right.
And position number 3 is Orlando.
Yes, that's Orlando. He had a pretty recognizable face. And again, that would have been a similar deal where the backgrounds were all different colors, so that's why we had to cut him out.
I'm going to share with you 78. And then show you down at the bottom. Darnell Brim's in position number 1.
Yeah, when I saw the picture, it looked like him up in the, something about the faces that kind of remember.
But that'd
Yeah.
be Darnell Brim.
That would be Darnell Brim.
Let's go to number 4. And if we roll down here, position number 5 would be Jerry Bonds. And if we roll up here, in position number 5, we have Jerry Bonds.
Correct. Yes. Okay.
Number 5. Number 5, we roll down to the bottom, which is State's Exhibit number 80.
That's Davion Brooks. Yeah.
Davion Brooks in position number 5, and if we roll up here, that's Davion Brooks in position number 5.
Yeah.
And that's the potentially young kid, based upon what Yafula said, that caused you guys to do the pen and all those other things.
He's the guy who did the pen register on. Yes.
Number 6. Oops. And this will be State's Exhibit number 81. I gotta share it with you. We roll down here. David Keith is in position number 1, and so that would be David Keith.
Yes. And the reason we put the tape on there is I think those were probably ID numbers or something. So we're again trying not to create problems with the different booking photos or something. And I don't know if this is a booking thing or a sheriff's card, but we just covered them up to lessen the conflict.
You learned during the course of your investigation that Mr. Keith worked at the MGM, which meant he must have a work card, ergo he must have a photo.
At a minimum, he had to have a work card, yes.
Hold the next one. Oops. Number 82. There we go. We roll down to 82, and in spot number 5 is Kevin Davis.
Kevin Davis, yeah.
And number 5 is a photograph of Kevin Davis.
Okay, yes.
And your understanding is that Mr. Davis, Kevin Davis, is Duane Davis's brother.
I think that's what it was. I knew he was a relative, but for some reason I thought they were brothers.
You recall a point in time when a .40 caliber Glock was found on Mr. Davis?
I don't remember if it was on him. There's 2 firearms that I can recall. I know that Mike Coette from the LA County Sheriff's Office had a firearm. If that was on him, then that would be it. He mentioned a Glock 40, and I had him enter those cartridges into what we had was drug fire then. I don't know if they still have it. And then I had our firearms people do the comparison on that.
And ultimately, that wasn't your murder weapon.
The firearms examiner said it was not the weapon.
And so, drug fire, which is, I think, the jury will hear later, is now called NIBIN. But drug fire was a way for photographs of casings to be put into a computer, and then somebody somewhere else could check casings that were found and see if they matched the same gun, casing to casing.
Yeah, the forensics guys that do all those firearms things, they know how to do all that stuff. All I know is if I get the information, I ask the people to enter it in to drug fire at the time, and then those firearms people know what to do. I depended on them.
So we only got two more here. Let's do your number 8, which is going to be my 83. In position number 2 is Terry Brown.
Terry Brown.
You see that right there? It says Terry Brown.
I don't see the photo lineup yet. I just see the lineup record.
Yeah.
Haven't.
Terry Brown would be in position
He-
number 2, correct?
Yeah, he's going to be in number 2. Okay. And I don't. Oh, there he is.
And
Yeah.
Photo number 2 is Terrence Brown.
That's the old photo. Yes.
And then the last record I have for you, Detective. Oh, I have to share my screen with you. Excuse me a second. States Exhibit number 84. You have Corey Edwards in position 3.
Okay.
And when we roll up here to position number 3, that'd be Corey Edwards.
Yeah. Does he always have that beard? I don't remember. It's been so long, but yeah.
Now, when you showed Mr. Alexander these photo lineups, was he able to pick anybody out?
He said he could not.
And do you know where Mr. Alexander is today?
From what I was told, he committed suicide, so he's deceased.
Did you attempt to show those photo lineups to Malcolm Greenridge?
I think it was the next day, because what started this was a newspaper article. So we went and met Malcolm with Reggie Wright Jr. And I think I learned later, because there's a report, that there's some other guy came with him. We met them at the Compton Police Department, and we sat down with Malcolm and we offered to show him these photo lineups. And Malcolm said he never wanted to see the lineups because he said he could never identify anybody. So basically, he declined to look at the photo lineups.
You mentioned a news story. What was in the news story that caused you to think you should go probably talk to Mr. Greenridge?
There was a reporter named Chuck Phillips that was working for the LA Times at the time that was, well, that's my opinion. Anyhow, Chuck Phillips was writing an article claiming that there were two witnesses that the Metropolitan Police Department were refusing to talk to, Frank Alexander and Malcolm Greenidge. When we got a hold of Frank Alexander and Malcolm Greenidge, they both stated that the words that Chuck Phillips used were not their words, that they had never said those words, and that Malcolm Greenidge said he said he could never identify anybody, so he had no reason to look at the photo lineups. Frank Alexander basically said the same thing, that the story was not the way he had told it.
Now, you were a homicide detective in Las Vegas, Nevada, Clark County, right?
Correct.
This crime appears to have come from Compton and returned shortly thereafter to Compton, right? All the witnesses, everything is there, correct?
Everybody that is related to this crime that we know of is coming from California, yes.
And so, are you a peace officer in California? You got the same powers you have here in Las Vegas?
No.
And how many times did you trip to California, generally, in an effort to talk to people about this particular case?
We made 10 to 12 trips to California. Not all of those trips were with law enforcement because there came a time where we weren't necessarily wanting to deal with law enforcement. So we went down there that many times to trying to contact different people. In fact, every time we went to California, we tried to contact Death Row Records, but got the runaround. So
ultimately, were you left with any avenue to further your investigation?
The only thing we ever got was we ended up the revocation hearing for Suge Knight, where I ended up providing a videotape of from the MGM for the DA's office down there.
Let me ask you about that. So, Suge Knight, at the time that he is involved at this fight with Orlando Anderson at the MGM, he is on probation, both federal and state probation in California, correct?
That's the way it was presented to us, yes.
And at that particular hearing, did he call a witness in his defense to claim he was trying to stop the fight?
Orlando Anderson was subpoenaed as a witness for Suge Knight, yes.
And did he testify that Suge Knight was trying to help him, not hurt him?
Orlando Anderson apparently, because I wasn't allowed in the courtroom, but apparently Orlando Anderson testified in court that day that Suge Knight was trying to help him.
And then were you the witness that laid the foundation for the videotape that disputed that testimony at that revocation hearing?
Because I had talked to Orlando Anderson in Compton the day of the search warrants, and he told me differently, I was there as an impeachment witness in case Orlando decided to tell the story that he did tell. And I testified that Orlando told me otherwise, that Suge Knight and Tupac had basically beat him down pretty good.
Thank you, sir. Judge, I pass the witness.
All right. Cross-examination, Mr. Sand.
Detective Becker, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I just need to follow up with a couple things. Let me start off with this. So you talked a little bit about your powers as a police officer in Nevada. And you had mentioned that those police powers end at the border of Nevada. Is that what I heard before?
Yeah, our basic law enforcement powers are within Nevada.
And as a result, what that means is when you enter into another state, you're technically not a police officer per se. I mean, you are a police officer, but you don't have a jurisdiction. Is that how you would frame it?
Correct. If we were, say, to want to arrest someone in another state, I mean, you could have someone arrest them, but you'd have to go through an extradition proceeding to bring someone over to Nevada. And that takes time. It's not like you can just go grab a guy and bring him back to Nevada.
Right. Now, in terms of your work here on this case, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on a couple things. We went through a lot of photo lineups, right?
Correct.
And you had referenced to me a little bit about the photo lineups, and fair to say, of course, as a defense attorney, you want to make sure that each photo lineup does not suggest the answer to the question, right?
Correct.
So back in those days, you're cutting pictures, you're actually cutting photographs out and just pasting them in such a way to try to eliminate backgrounds and so forth, so that the person that's looking at the photo lineup won't be suggested as to what the answer is.
That's what our attempt was, yes, sir.
Now, just for the jury's edification, when someone is being shown a photo lineup, they're not they're in a room, they see the photo lineup, and then at that point, you wait for them to respond and see which one of the 6 people in there they recognize. Right?
Well, you'd show the lineup and ask them if they recognize anybody in the lineup. That's you don't say who in this lineup, do you recognize? You just say, do you recognize anybody in the lineup?
Right, and the reason why you ask that question that way is you do not want to suggest an answer to your question. Or
correct. You don't want to try and make them lean towards anybody in particular.
right, because there are instructions that are part of those photo lineups that say there may not be a person at all that we're interested in the 6 people that we present to you, right? You could have a photo lineup with nobody in it that you would have as a target. Fair?
That's a fair statement. Yes, sir.
Now, in this particular regard, once a person sees who that person believes to be somebody associated with whatever investigation you're looking at, they typically would circle the picture and maybe put down a percentage of how sure they are of that person being the person that's involved in something. Is that how that works?
Yeah, typically what I would do anyhow is I'd have them initial the back of the photograph, the particular photograph of the person.
Right.
And if there was a percentage, I would have them put that on there, say it 80%, 60%, whatever that is, or 100%, whichever.
Now, of course, during this time period, as you are putting together these photo lineups, the majority of the individuals that the state identified in each photo lineup are people that are associated with Southside Crips. Would that be an accurate description?
I believe everybody was, I don't remember, was Roger Williams one of them? Because he's not a Crip. He's a Piru or mob guy, so he's a Blood.
I think
But everybody else was a Crip, yes.
Right, and so because you were under the premise that there was a gang war, that the Southside Crips had actually shot at Tupac and Suge Knight because they were Piru Blood, and so you were identifying just Southside Crips and putting them into photo lineups. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, we were using Crips because that was the information. Again, we were basing a lot of things off the information we were getting from Compton.
Right, and even so, even as you're receiving this information from Compton, even as you sit here right now, sir, you weren't comfortable necessarily with all of the information you were receiving from Compton, right?
We weren't comfortable with certain things in Compton, yes.
For instance, the way they were conducting their business as law enforcement in Compton was not the way you would recommend or know that Metro would do here in Las Vegas. Fair?
We witnessed a couple of interview techniques that we weren't comfortable with, yes.
Yes, sir. Now, in addition, as you are having these photo lineups, did these photo lineups ever go to anyone back in Las Vegas? For instance, we've heard some testimony from some females that were in a vehicle, some other people maybe that would have been at the scene. Were those photo lineups ever shown to anyone that was, like the girls in the Sebring or anything like that?
That's where I'm wondering. I think there was 5 photos later on that are shown, not the original 10. I don't remember the exact number, but there are 5 later photos. And I think I mentioned it during my earlier testimony that we sent to, I believe, someone in LAPD. And I know that of the 4 girls in the Sebring, I only think 1 or 2 said they were willing to look at the photo lineups. And I think photo lineups were sent to LA so they could show them to those.
And do you recall what the results were of those photo lineups being sent to the girls in LA?
I don't believe they identified anybody.
And fair to say that in this particular regard, the photo lineup that shows Terrence Brown, no one, as far as you know, no one identified Terrence Brown as being in a vehicle, even in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996?
Yeah, if Terrence Brown was in one of those photo lineups, then he wasn't identified, correct?
How about DeAndre Smith? Was he ever identified by anybody in a photo line and his photo lineup as being present in Las Vegas, Nevada on September 7th, 1996?
I don't recall anybody being identified in a photo lineup.
Okay. Now, in addition to that, sir, your testimony was that you were the primary detective on this case originally.
Myself and Mike Franks, we didn't really have a lead, but yeah.
All right. You drew the short straw basically on this one, right?
I guess I'm the guy that's name is all over everything, but yeah.
Well, congratulations. Let me ask you this question though. As a police officer, did you write reports of all of your activity that you did during the course of this investigation?
Anytime we did something, I did an officer's report. I know Mike Franks did several reports too. Yes. And
would there ever be a time during the time that you were handling this investigation that you would have chosen not to have written a officer's report?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
No. If we'd have had a trip, especially any trip we did out of state, anything where we went out and did anything, I'd have done an officer's report. Back in the day, apparently they do things a little different. Even if it was a one paragrapher, we did officer's reports.
And as far as you know, based upon your knowledge of what happened to your file after you left, is the file complete in terms of your reports and what you did in this case?
When I left, it was, yes.
Is it now?
I don't know. I've never seen the case file, so I don't know what it looks like now. I've heard rumors.
Now, the District Attorney's Office had forwarded over to you some documents to help you with your preparation for testimony here today, right?
Correct.
Were those documents all of the officers' reports that you wrote while you were on this investigation?
No.
Now, in addition to that, sir, you had testified a little bit about the Luxor, I think. You had mentioned something about there was some information that Tupac and Suge Knight had both had rooms at the Luxor. Is that correct?
That's the information we had, yes, sir.
Okay. In addition to that, was there any video that was captured of the vehicles that had gone to the Luxor to pick up Tupac while he was at the Luxor?
I don't remember a specific video of the vehicles. I mean, there was hearsay of vehicles, but I don't remember specific videos.
Now,
off the top of my head, I don't. No.
Right. And because you were the lead detective, of course, you're accumulating all of the information that's being gathered, sometimes from other police officers in furtherance of your investigation, right?
Yeah, if it's given to me, yes, and it's put into the case file, yes.
Right. And so with regards to the Luxor incident, you learned and you had put into your officer's report that Tupac Shakur was picked up with some people, looks like around 10 o'clock at the ballet. Do you recall that?
I don't think I did an officer's report reference the ballet. No.
I have a document here. Looks like your signature is at the bottom as the officer.
If you could show it to me. Like I said, I've seen some documents from this that I don't recall. But if you have it, show it to me. I'd be happy.
Do you want me to run it right over for you right now?
Yeah, if you could show it to me.
Let me do this.
Don't recall it.
Now, I believe that we had submitted some documents for your review as well. Do you recall the documents that we reviewed?
I remember, because I remember you showing me a document from L.A. that I didn't remember too. So,
right.
But it's been a while. So
this would be titled the Murder or Attempt Murder Supplement. Do you recall that document?
Okay. Wait a minute. Is this the report with Beard on it?
Correct. That's right.
Oh, okay. That report. Now I remember that report. Yes.
And I apologize if I wasn't clear enough.
Okay. I remember that report. Yes.
And in that report, for instance, there was a discussion about the number of vehicles that had pulled up to pick up Tupac, and one of the vehicles that was there was a Cadillac that was white with 4 black males in it. Do you recall that?
Correct.
Okay. So the way we're looking at it right now is Tupac comes out of the Luxor, he gets picked up in a long caravan of cars, and the last car is a white Cadillac with 4 black males in it. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's based upon your investigation.
Correct.
Now, in addition to that, we talked a little bit about the pen registers. Can you explain to the jury what a pen register is?
Pen register isn't the same as a pen register is more or less you're getting a number and you're more or less recording those numbers.
So
It's not quite the same as you're recording phone calls and listening to them, where in that particular case you actually have people in a room and they're actually listening to calls, and if the call is not pertaining to your investigation, you're supposed to turn it off and not listen to it. It's something that's not pertaining to it. And that a pen register is more or less information to record calls. It's a tool to assist you in your investigation if it turns out to be something that's valuable. That was the intent.
right.
When we did the pen register, we never got to do it because we did the pen register. You have to file it with the county, and lo and behold, the next day it was in the newspaper. So basically, it was a waste of time.
Well, I mean, for instance, the pen register would be you would target someone's phone number, right? And so
Correct. That was the intent.
And the pen register would record the numbers that were either going to that phone number or that phone number making phone calls out of that to other phones.
That was the intent.
Now, in this case, can you tell us, for instance, what Keffe D's phone number was at that particular time?
I couldn't tell you. No.
And with regards to the phone records that we had received, there were some numbers that were either from the Monte Carlo, and I don't know if it was from the Luxor, but do any of those phone numbers register back to a pager? Because this is 1996, right? So it's got to be a pager or maybe, I don't know. I don't know what was around 1996 besides the pager.
I believe those phone numbers were actually the phone numbers to the hotels themselves.
Right. And so outside of that, we don't have any fact that Keffe D's pager or phone number was either dialed to or received in from either the Luxor or the Monte Carlo is what's been shared here today, right?
Not on those calls, sir.
Now, in addition to that, you had mentioned as well the search warrants that occurred in Compton. Now, these search warrants that occurred, fair to say that they also they were doing these search warrants to try to retrieve firearms to help quell or to suppress any potential violence in Compton. Is that the reason or purpose for those search warrants?
I don't know what it was. Their search warrant. I can't tell you what the purpose, other than my understanding was there was an arrest warrant for Orlando Anderson. All that other stuff, that's Compton's thing.
Yeah.
It was their search warrant.
And in terms of that search warrant, did you ever see the results, or was Keffe D's house or residence in Compton searched as well?
I don't remember. I'd have to. The return had so much information on there. I'd have to sit there and look at it again. I just don't remember right off the top of my head if Keffe D's house was on that return or not.
No worries, sir. And in terms of your investigation, did you ever have to deal directly with Reggie Wright Jr.?
The only face-to-face, and it would have been brief, would have been at Compton when he brought Malcolm Greenidge in, but I don't think there was any talk. And the reason we probably didn't talk to him was because his dad was a lieutenant at Compton.
And what did that mean to you as to why you wouldn't talk to him because his dad was a lieutenant?
Right, wrong, or indifferent, our feeling was, well, if your dad's a Compton lieutenant and you're the head of Death Row Records security, I just have a problem with the communications line there. Maybe I'm being distrustful on that. I just worry about what's being said between the two parties.
Were you aware during the course of your investigation that Reggie Wright Jr. instructed his people to lie to you?
I was told later on by Frank Alexander that he said that, yes.
In addition to that, we had talked a little bit about the video footage that was captured at the MGM. Did you at any point when you looked at that video footage observe or see Duane Davis, Keffe D in that surveillance video?
No.
And then finally, your recollection is, so you wake up in the morning, you get the call, you arrive on scene, and when you get there, you had said, and this might be an old Nevada thing, but everyone skedaddled before I got there. You remember saying something like that? Did you, during that time period, ever observe a white Cadillac sitting there waiting for somebody inside to talk to either yourself or any other police officers about what happened at the scene?
No.
And then finally, you had mentioned a little bit about Suge Knight, and you had said that you believed that he was timid or afraid when he showed up with 3 attorneys to talk to you.
Yeah, I think he was rather timid, yes.
Sure. And it would be fair to say, of course, that you don't know why he was timid, right? I mean, he's walking in with 3 attorneys. I mean, is he worried that he's going to get caught doing something wrong, or is he there because he's worried about something else? You don't know, right?
I don't know why he was. It's just I'm sitting there thinking, one, why the victim showing up with 3 attorneys? That was just an odd thing to me.
Right. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Any redirect, Mr. Duckman?
Free.
Okay. Of course.
All right, Detective. I'm going to jump in here just a little bit with you. Hold on one second while I get ready so that we can share some screens here. And of course, now I can't get a thing to come up so I can share the screen because it isn't in the right. There it is. I found it. Here we go. I want to start with an aerial that's been admitted as State's Exhibit number 1. I'm going to put it up big for you here. Can you see that?
Just a minute here. Okay, yeah, now I do.
So, your understanding is that Shug and the entourage were coming down this way, westbound on Flamingo towards the 662 Club.
Yeah, Flamingo towards Cowell, yes.
And after the shooting, what's your understanding
He's-
of what Mr. Shug?
Did you say westbound or eastbound?
I'm sorry, they
I'm
were
sorry.
heading eastbound towards the 662, correct?
Correct.
What's your understanding as to what Shug and the majority of that entourage do after the shooting?
My understanding is once the shooting happened, they made a U-turn, went westbound on Flamingo, southbound on the boulevard, Las Vegas Boulevard, and came to a stop. If that red dot is at Las Vegas Boulevard and Harmon, that's where they came to a stop.
And it wasn't just Mr. Knight's vehicle that was stopped at that location. There were a number of other cars that were part of that entourage that remained at the scene for photographing. Is that correct?
My understanding, because obviously Frank Alexander and the other three gentlemen were there, so their car must have been there. If Kevin Woods got talked to, and I think there was somebody else, so I'm guessing their car was there. If there were other cars there, no one said anything about it. So I don't know how many. I remember the car that Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur were in was there in the intersection.
Right. And two of the wheels have been blown out from hitting a curb.
The rims were banged up from going over the median there in the middle of the Flamingo.
So, and then the entire crime scene would have been taped off by initial patrol officers, correct?
Yeah, I remember the street was pretty well taped off from what I recall.
And when they put crime scene tape up, they put crime scene tape up around the entire area they're trying to protect. Whether or not the people that were in those vehicles stayed at that location, there are more than one vehicle that's taped off in this scene. Would you agree with that?
They should be. They should be taping off a wider area than a smaller area. It's easier to come in than to go out.
So this is going to make me kick me back in and out every time, but let's go through this.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you're going to tape off an area, you'd rather make it bigger than start smaller, because it's easier to start bigger and close it than to start small and make it wider, because once you made it small, you got looky-loos, everybody coming in, and it's tough to get people out then.
So now I'm going to share this photograph. That's the rear of Mr. Shakur and Suge Knight's vehicle, or at least appears to be, correct?
This is at the scene, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I see the tape in the distance. Okay. And then,
that's exhibit number 6.
okay. Is this on the boulevard?
I believe the testimony is that this vehicle is Las Vegas Boulevard in Harmon.
Okay, I see the black and white up ahead just because I see the reflective from the door.
So I'm going to go through exhibit number
What's that white car?
Well, we're going to go through all of these for you
Okay,
in just a second.
okay.
Of course, I got to do this the hard way. So now I'm going to show you number 20. Give me a second. I don't know why this thing won't roll up for me when it's photographs. There's obviously a different black BMW that's inside. If you look real close on the right side, the crime scene.
Okay. Okay.
There is 22. Oh, I'm gonna click out of this.
I'm guessing that license plate number is on the report, so.
You just click through. That's 23. Now we're looking at 24. Share my screen. There's a black Lexus within the crime scene tape.
Okay.
Stop sharing.
So all those cars that are in that line to the side is just regular traffic being going by, I take it.
Then within the tape, this is State's Exhibit number 24. There's a silverish Mercedes.
Okay. So is Kevin Woods is probably in at least one of these.
And then 26. There, 26. Also in the tape, there's white. I think you if you zoom in really close down here, which I don't know if I can do on here. But
Yeah.
oh, I can do this. There you go.
It's probably the license. Oh, it's a
Dodge Avenger.
a Dodge Avenger. Okay, and the license plate number. Because I remember on the original crime report, there are license plate numbers on vehicles, and I'd have to look at it to see what they match up to.
And then Mr. Stampt asked you questions about going to the Luxor.
Okay.
You recall those questions?
Yes.
Would it refresh your memory as to exactly what you found out at the Luxor to review that report that you generated?
Uh-huh.
Okay. There we go. Why is it not coming up? Stop. Share this one more time. Let's see if this works. There we go. All right. All right, here we go.
Right, Brian Beard, yeah. Okay.
So the beginning is just sort of a little paragraph that you wrote about what the investigation is about.
That's just a very brief synopsis about what happened the night of the shooting, yes.
Now, you indicated you talked to Brian Beard, who was working security at the Luxor.
Correct.
At about 10 p.m., he saw Mr. Shakur with a large group of people at the valet. Shakur and his group entered numerous vehicles and drove onto Las Vegas Boulevard around 10:30.
Right.
Beard recalls a black two-door Mercedes, a dark-colored Hummer, a two-tone van, and a black four-door Mercedes or BMW in the entourage.
Yeah, and the Hummer was supposed to be MC Hammer. I remember that.
Okay. And then you also talked to Angel Zabalza.
Right.
Zavala. He was working as well. His recollection of the vehicles were there was a white Dodge Caravan, a black BMW
Right.
Mercedes, and two other black vehicles. Two white vehicles were also behind the group. Zabalza said he thought the last car was a Cadillac or Buick with four black males, was what he reported.
Right. That correct.
Thank you, Josh. I have nothing further.
Okay. Any requests?
Just real quick, Detective Becker, with regards to that last line, the last line is that the last white vehicle was either a Cadillac or a Buick, right? So the Cadillac was a white Cadillac.
Correct. That's the way that's worded, yes.
All right.
Either a white Cadillac or Buick, yes.
All right. No further questions. Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? Seeing no hands, thank you. You are excused. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, state. Any additional witnesses for today?
Will we approach it?
Come on. All right, we're going to take another 15-minute break while we try to get some Zoom things going. During this recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial of any person connected with this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, the internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until it is submitted to you. We'll see you guys back 3:30. Please rise for the jury. All right, we'll be in recess. Thank you, everyone. All right.
Apparently the media can hear me, so.
Yes. Go ahead.
Well, he's frozen now. Can you hear me, sir?
You're very faint, yes.
If I get closer to this microphone, is that any
There
better?
we go. I got you now.
Okay.
If you wanted to question him sitting, I have no problem with that. That'll help with the microphone issue.
I'm just going to speak up because I'm capable of asking questions in my chair.
Okay. Just offering some suggestions.
No, I appreciate the suggestion.
All right, Mr. Stamp, are we ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. We have everybody. Anything we need to address before we bring the jury back in?
Not from the state.
No, Your Honor.
All right, let's bring it in.
Staff and jury.
The party stipulates to the presence of the jury.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may be seated. All right, the state may call their next witness at this time.
Fred Miller.
Hi, Mr. Miller, can you hear me or are you frozen?
I can hear you, Honor.
Okay, great. I'm going to have my clerk swear you, and then
There
Mr.
seems to be a
John's going to have
pause.
some questions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Miller. If you please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you please state your full name and then spell it for the record.
Fred Miller, Fredmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. DiGiacomo, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, how did you used to be employed?
I used to be employed for the Los Angeles Police Department.
How long you were with LAPD?
Almost 30 years.
On March 9th of 1997, what was your assignment? What section were you in?
I've been assigned to Robbery Homicide Division, worked Homicide Special.
Were you one of the two detectives assigned initially the investigation into an individual identified as Christopher Wallace, also known as Biggie Smalls, also known as the notorious B.I.G.?
No, I did not receive the responsibility for the case until approximately 60 days later. We received it from the Wilshire Division, and then we took over the responsibility for the investigation.
Why would a case be transferred from Wilshire to RHD?
I'm sorry?
Why would a case at LAPD be transferred out of the Wilshire Division to the Robbery Homicide Division?
Because of the magnitude of the investigation that it looked like it was going to entail, they did not have the manpower that we had at Robbery Homicide to work a case of this magnitude.
During the course of your investigation, did you learn how Mr. Wallace died?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe that for us?
Yes, he received, I believe, 4 9mm projectiles to his body that caused his demise.
And where was he when he got shot?
He was sitting in the right passenger seat of his limousine that was leaving the museum.
And was that the Peterson Automotive Museum in L.A.?
Yes, sir, it is.
And that was there a vibe after party after some award show that he was in attendance before he was shot?
That's correct.
And the fire marshals, did they shut down that party and that's why everyone was leaving?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
Did you have information as to a suspect vehicle that you originally received?
That's correct. We received from darker, newer Chevrolet S four-door. It had very fancy rims on it. It was last seen going north on Fairfax and then eastbound on Wilshire Boulevard.
So I think what you just said was was a newer model Chevy Impala SS that was dark in color. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct.
And the race of your potential suspect, how was that identified to you?
Yes, it's a male black.
During the course of your investigation, did you receive information that a person by the name of Duane Davis might be a suspect in this homicide?
Yes, we did.
I think he's frozen just as... Okay. And in addition to that, did you learn that Duane Davis was present at the the Peterson Automotive Museum during the party?
Yes, he was.
Did you also receive information that he potentially had a motive to harm Mr. Smalls because of some sort of monetary dispute?
Objection, Your Honor, is the leading.
What's your response?
I'm just trying
There
to
was
lay a
some-
foundation through video.
Overruled. I'll allow it given the circumstances. You can answer, Mr. Miller.
He's not frozen. I don't think we caught your answer.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Did you receive information that he potentially had a motive over money owed to him?
Yes, from several sources, we'd heard that there was a dispute between Mr. Davis and Tupac's organization.
All right.
And ultimately, did you learn that Mr. Davis lived at a residence at 1524 California?
Yes,
Did you also learn that he had driven or received a citation driving a black Chevy Impala SS?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Can I have the parties approach real quick?
Can we just redo this tomorrow?
yes.
Damn it.
We're going to take a 10-minute recess to see if we can fix the feed a little bit. During this recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourself or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial. of any person connected with this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, the internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is submitted to you. I apologize for the constant in and out, but we do need to try to fix this. All right, please rise for the jury.
Yeah, now it's working perfect.
For the record, the jury has exited the room. I don't know what we want to do.
So, Jared, Jacob's going to call him and see if we can get him closer to his Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I'm going to grab an exhibit.
Okay. If you guys want to try to play around with it,
Hello.
see if it works, and let me know
Yeah.
what you decide. Okay. All right, we'll be in recess. The jury is exiting.
Oh.
You have one record to make outside the presence of the jury.
Sure, let's do that.
Just with regards to this witness's testimony earlier,
We can hear you. I'm afraid to turn it off. Because he might think it's okay when we start. I just
Okay.
want you to know he can hear you.
okay, I don't think it's going to hurt his feelings.
Okay.
The information that was garnered by the state specifically, I think, just falls towards a other bad act issue, and that is the testimony is that he's a suspect in a murder of Biggie Smalls, and there's some implication at this particular point. I know how the story ends. The problem is though is that it still infers a bad act in terms of him being the suspect in this case. So as a result, we just
I have no problem, the court already admitted this by way of our motion in limine. I have no problem with the court instructing the jury that neither the state nor the LAPD believes that Mr. Davis is involved in the murder of Christopher Wallace. I have no problem with that instruction.
Did you want a contemporaneous instruction, or do you want that to be included in the jury instruction packet, Mr. Stamped?
I think it should be some kind of an impression right now, so it can
Okay.
make contemporaneous instruction on it.
So the suggestion was neither the court nor LAPD believe
At this point.
at this point that Mr. Davis was involved in any way in the death of Mr. Wallace?
Sure.
Does that work?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, let's bring in the jury.
Stand for the jury.
All right, does the party stick with the plans of the jury?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Before we go back to Mr. Miller's testimony, I did want to admonish you as follows. Neither the court nor the LAPD believe at this point that Mr. Davis was involved in the death of Mr. Wallace. I want that to be clear. Going back to you, Mr. DiGiacomo, you may proceed with Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
So you received information that Duane Davis could potentially be your suspect. Is that accurate? I think that's where we left off.
That's correct.
And you also receive information that potentially Mr. Davis feels like he's owed money by either Mr. Wallace or Puffy Combs' Bad Boy Records. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
You also learned that he was driving or ticketed on March 8th of 1997 a black 1996 Chevy Impala SS. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so based upon all of that, do you, along with, on May 27th of 1997, Compton PD executes a search warrant at 1524 California, and then on the 28th, you get a warrant to search the vehicle, the 1996 Chevy Impala, correct?
Correct.
And the vehicle was actually registered to a Patrick Parker. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Eventually, fast forward to June 20th of 1997, do you and your partner, Detective Poole, wind up having a conversation with Mr. Davis at his lawyer's office, Edie Fall?
That's correct.
Judge, I've had marked as 116 as well as, it's old school, so it's two sides of a tape, 108 and 109, which is transcripts. It's the audio and the transcripts. I'd offer them at this point.
Any objection?
No objection. Your Honor.
All right, those will be admitted, and further, pursuant to your stipulation, we're going to play those after Mr. Miller's done testifying, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir, during the execution of that search warrant that you did, in the trunk of the vehicle, did you collect a Polaroid photograph?
Yes, I did.
And I'm going to share my screen with you. Can you see that Polaroid?
Yes, I can.
And is that the Polaroid that you collected out of the vehicle?
That's correct.
I move to admit 66.
Any
No
objection?
objection, Your Honor.
So admitted?
I pass the witness.
Okay. Mr. Santos?
Mr. Miller, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
This Polaroid that's on screen right now, which is State 66 that you see in front of you,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. Can't hear you very well. You're breaking out just a little bit.
I apologize. So this exhibit that you see in front of you right now, do you see the Polaroid still, which is State's Exhibit 66 for the record?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what this means?
What it means?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Polaroid. Is there anything about this particular photograph that means anything?
I really don't get your questions right. It just means there's a group of guys together who enjoyed themselves, apparently.
Right. Can you tell us when that photograph was taken?
No, I can't.
Can you tell us where that photograph was taken?
No.
In terms of the clothing that everyone's wearing at this particular point, do you know if that was how Mr. Davis dressed normally?
I have no idea how Mr. Davis dresses normally.
Now, this photograph that was taken from the '96 Chevy Impala, that was pursuant to your search warrant, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were looking for evidence that would help you substantiate as to who was responsible for the murder of Biggie Smalls, right?
Yes.
So can you tell us how this photograph helps you learn any more information as to who killed Biggie Smalls?
It may not be the actual person who pulled the trigger, but it may be one of the people that lead us to who did pull that trigger.
All right. So who are the other people that are in the photograph?
I don't recall the names. Orlando Anderson was one, and I don't recall the others.
Okay. But fair to say, of course, if there was a Polaroid with these people in there, it would have been part of your job as a detective at the time to look into and identify who those other individuals are, correct?
Yes.
And that didn't happen in this case?
I believe we did find out there was 3 or 4 more.
All right. And once again, did it help you solve the murder of Biggie Smalls?
No.
And fair to say, though, even though we've been talking about Mr. Duane Davis as somebody that was a potential target for your investigation, ultimately, at the end of the day, he was never charged with the murder of Biggie Smalls, right?
That's correct.
Now, in addition to that, fair to say that in your course and scope as a detective, when you do your investigations, you would have ran Mr. Davis's criminal history as part of your investigation, right?
Yes, sir.
Was there any indication on any of his criminal history that he'd ever been arrested or charged or convicted of any violent felony?
I don't recall.
Now, in addition to that, sir, your testimony here is that you did an investigation on Mr. Davis. Did you ever at any point look into the actual Impala itself? You said it was owned by somebody else, a Patrick Parker. Is that correct?
It wasn't owned by someone other than Mr. Davis, yes.
And with regard to that, did you ever interview Mr. Parker?
I do not recall.
And when you went to 1524, what was the purpose of going to that particular address?
I'm sorry, what?
You said you went to 1524 California. I apologize. That was my bad. But you went to 1524 California. Why to that address?
Because that's where we heard that Mr. Davis lived and that we'd had area units go by and check the location, and they observed a black Chevy Impala parked in the back. That's why.
Did you ever search the 1524 California residence in furtherance of your investigation?
I didn't. It was searched by the Compton Police Department.
Okay. And in their search of the 1524 California residence, fair to say that there was no evidence that was located that would have been helpful for your investigation?
Not at this point. That's correct.
Okay. What about the anything to do with a potential issue with Tupac Shakur's murder? Any evidence found at the 1524 California residence?
I'm not sure. That was not my case.
Now, at some point, your testimony is that there was a meeting between yourself, Mr. Davis, as well as Edie Fall, his attorney.
Yes, sir.
And in that meeting, it was recorded?
Yes.
And was that recorded surreptitiously, meaning it was done without their knowledge, or was it done with their knowledge?
I don't recall whether they were informed or not.
And just for our edification, where was the location of that meeting and recording?
Wow. I don't recall. I want to say it was at Parker Center, but I don't actually remember.
Is that where, would that have been LAPD headquarters, or are you talking about some other location?
No, it'd be 150 North Los Angeles Street.
I don't know where that's at. Is that a...
It no longer exists. It was the old Parker Center, yes.
Okay.
The old police administration building.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Any redirect, Mr. DiGiacomo?
No, no.
Any questions for this witness by the jurors? We do have at least one, so hang on with us, Mr. Miller, while we go through the question process.
Thank you.
Can I have the parties approach? All right, Mr. Okay, Mr. Miller, can you still hear me?
I'm sorry, what, Your Honor?
Okay, excellent. A question from one of our jurors. If the car was owned by someone else, why weren't they questioned?
I don't understand. I'm not hearing you correctly, Your Honor.
If the car was owned by someone else, why were they not questioned?
More likely he was, like I said, I do not recall whether he was interviewed or not. He was not by me that I remember.
Okay. Any follow-up, Mr. DiGiacomo?
No.
Any follow-up, Mr. Sanders?
I do have one further question, Your Honor.
About that? Or about something else?
Sure.
Any objection to him reopening questioning?
No.
Okay. Mr. Stamp, you may proceed with a different question.
Thank you, Your Honor. I apologize. Thank you to the state as well. Sir, you had told us earlier that there was some indication that you believed that either Biggie or Sean Puffy Combs had owed my client money. You recall that line of questioning?
I remember that question, yes.
Was there any evidence that he actually was owed money by either one of those two individuals?
Not that I'm aware of.
No further questions, John.
Any questions based on that state? All right. Any questions based on that by the jurors? Seeing nothing at this time, Mr. Miller, you are excused. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I think this is our last witness for the day. Is that correct, State?
Yes, although we can play that 1997 recording.
Okay.
It's part of it.
I think we do have time. You said it was about 40 minutes?
I think part A is 40 minutes, and then there's a little bit that we may have to finish in the morning, but we can at least
Sounds
do
good.
part of
Let's
it.
get started.
We got to switch over to the.
chocolate or coffee or soda? Do you have soda? Yeah. What would you like? And soda.